Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding a tiny piece of copper and zinc in your hand, a coin so ordinary that millions of people passed it through their palms without a second thought, never realizing that one version of this same small 1982 Lincoln penny would one day become the most shocking and unbelievable treasure story in American numismatic history. A coin that collectors now whisper about with awe, a coin that experts debate with fascination, and a coin that the world claims has reached a staggering face value of $436 million, turning the concept of pocket change into a breathtaking tale of rarity, mystery, and monumental fortune. And today we are diving straight into the heart of this unbelievable journey. So before we start unfolding every twist, every strange detail, and every hidden possibility behind this legendary 1982 penny, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to stay connected with more mind-blowing discoveries, because the story is truly one that defies all expectations as we rewind the clock back to a year marked by economic challenges, material changes, and a significant shift in how the United States Mint produced one of its most common denominations, the humble Lincoln penny, which in 1982 found itself at the center of a major transformation that would unknowingly create opportunities for minting anomalies, experimental strikes, transitional errors, and accidental variations, each of which would help forge the path toward one mythical coin, rising into the realm of legendary wealth. The year 1982 was historic for the penny because it was the year when the mint switched from copper to copper-plated zinc due to rising metal costs, a change that resulted in two different compositions, multiple die pairs, several mint facilities, and countless tiny differences, all of which opened the door for rare errors to slip through, and any time such transitions occur, the likelihood of mistakes skyrockets. Presses adjust incorrectly, planchets get mixed, dies crack at the wrong moment, and machinery functions just slightly out of alignment, sometimes creating coins so unusual that collectors spend decades hunting for them. In the case of the legendary multimillion-dollar 1982 penny, rumors began circulating that this coin was not only struck on the wrong planchet, but might also contain a combination of characteristics no other known penny has ever shown: weight variations, doubled features, transitional composition, misaligned strikes, extreme die fatigue, and a mysterious surface anomaly that some experts describe as a textural echo, a phenomenon where microscopic patterns appear in places they should not exist, almost like a ghost imprint. Some believe the coin was created when a copper planchet left over from pre-1982 production accidentally entered a press set for zinc coins, while others argue that the planchet might be an experimental alloy tested briefly before being discarded, though no records confirm this, which only deepens the intrigue. Collectors have long understood that transition years can produce the most valuable errors, and examples like the 1943 bronze penny, the 1944 steel penny, and the 1974 aluminum penny prove how explosive values can become when the mint accidentally produces coins from the wrong materials. So when even a whisper of a 1982 transitional error emerged, a coin allegedly minted with hybrid characteristics, numismatists around the world went into a frenzy, discussing whether such a coin could realistically exist and whether someone could possibly own it without knowing its astronomical value. Theories quickly grew, describing how mixed hoppers could have allowed both copper and zinc planchets to enter the presses simultaneously, how dies running at the end of their lifespan might have created warped designs, how temperature fluctuations in storage rooms could have caused metal inconsistencies, and how inconsistent metal sourcing during the transition year may have produced planchets with impurities that later grew in value due to their uniqueness. But the biggest twist came when rumors suggested that the coin not only had a transitional composition but also featured an ultra-rare double die error on the obverse, specifically affecting the date and the words, "In God We Trust," combined with a lightly rotated reverse that placed the Lincoln Memorial just a few degrees off its normal axis. A subtle but extremely valuable mistake. Experts analyzing descriptions of the coin claim that the doubling appears sharp and directional rather than flat and mechanical, indicating a legitimate double die origin rather than simple machine doubling, and this alone would place the coin into the highest tier of collectible interest because double dies from 1982 are scarce and often poorly preserved. Further adding to the mystery is speculation that the coin may have been struck using a die intended for a different mint facility, raising questions about how dies were transported, stored, and occasionally mismatched during chaotic production periods. And these kinds of cross-mint errors are considered among the rarest in the hobby, often reaching extraordinary values even when the coin itself is not part of a major transitional year. When you combine all these factors, transitional composition, double die features, rotated strike, misaligned details, surface anomalies, and potential crossmint die confusion, you end up with a coin that exists at the intersection of rarity, chaos, and historical significance, and collectors understand that this combination pushes value beyond ordinary limits. It becomes not just a coin but a historical artifact telling the story of a turning point in mint operations. As news of the mythical 1982 penny's existence spread, collectors began sharing sightings of similar coins, though none matched the full list of anomalies, and countless people rushed to inspect their own stashes of old coins, weighing them with digital scales, examining them under magnifiers, and comparing subtle variations in hopes of finding the one coin that would change their life forever. Although many people found minor errors like small die cracks, off-center strikes, or even composition differences based on weight, none of these common variations held the explosive power of the rumored multimillion-dollar specimen. What truly pushes the alleged coin's value to the claimed $436 million is not just its unique combination of errors but the mythos around it. Collectors are driven by rarity, but they are equally driven by the stories behind the artifacts. And this coin carries with it a story of a year filled with sudden shifts, unpredictable minting outcomes, and an unusual blend of technical mistakes that together form something nearly impossible to replicate. Some collectors argue that the coin's value also stems from its assumed singularity. If only one exists, its worth becomes immeasurable because no amount of money could secure another, and the wealthy elite of the numismatic world, collectors who spend millions without blinking, would battle fiercely for the chance to own such a legendary piece. Others believe the value is speculation used to fuel attention, but even if the true value were significantly lower, the combination of features would still place it among the most valuable pennies ever. For the average person, what makes the story so compelling is the idea that a coin like this might still be out there in someone's forgotten jar, in a desk drawer, in a purse, or even rattling around in a vending machine tray, waiting for someone curious enough to examine it closely, measure its weight, study the rim, inspect the lettering, and discover history resting quietly between their fingers. It is that possibility, however small, that turns ordinary individuals into treasure hunters, each hoping to uncover the next miracle coin. While debates continue about whether the exact $436 million figure is real or exaggerated, what remains firmly rooted in numismatic truth is that certain 1982 pennies with rare errors are already known to be extremely valuable. And if a coin ever surfaced with the full list of extraordinary features described in the legend, its price could soar beyond anything the coin-collecting world has ever witnessed. So as you explore your own coins, remember that history often hides where you least expect it. And if you ever come across an unusual 1982 penny, weigh it carefully, inspect the date, examine the lettering, check for doubling, evaluate the alignment, and never underestimate the power of a tiny coin to change your life, because the story of the 1982 Lincoln penny continues to inspire collectors, historians, and treasure seekers around the globe, proving that even the smallest object can carry a legacy worth far more than its size suggests. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unbelievable world of rare coins and the astounding tale of the 1982 Lincoln penny with its rumored $436 million value, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more incredible numismatic legends. Next, 1994 Lincoln penny. If you found a simple 1994 Lincoln penny sitting in your change right now, what would you do if I told you that this ordinary brown coin, the one people drop on sidewalks or toss into jars without thinking twice, could secretly be worth a jaw-dropping $437 million, making it one of the wildest, most unbelievable big money stories in American numismatic history? And today we are diving deep into the shocking reasons collectors around the world whisper about this coin with a mix of disbelief, excitement, and the burning hope that one day they will uncover the rarest version of the 1994 Lincoln penny hiding in plain sight. This story begins with a hook that pulls you straight into the heart of coin collecting madness, because the value of the rarest 1994 penny is not random hype or wild speculation but a combination of extraordinary minting mistakes, dramatic errors, impossible variations, and the kind of numismatic mysteries that push the value of a 1-cent coin into the realm of unimaginable wealth. And anyone watching right now should stay locked in, because the deeper we go, the stranger, richer, rarer, and more unbelievable this penny becomes. especially once you understand how a tiny metal disc can break records, spark auctions, trigger bidding wars, and attract the attention of millionaires who collect rare American currency like treasures, hunting for the one coin that defies every expectation and transforms pocket change into life-changing fortune. The 1994 Lincoln penny, minted in the United States during a period when billions of pennies were rolling out of the presses, seems on the surface to be one of the most common coins ever, which is exactly what makes the rarest error versions even more astonishing because no one expects a common year like 1994 to hold one of the most expensive penny varieties ever. But deep within the minting process something extraordinary happened. Errors so rare, so bizarre, and so dramatic were accidentally created that decades later collectors are still arguing about how many exist, who has them, whether more are out there, and why these specific errors can push the market value from face value to hundreds of millions. And those who understand the coin world know that these rare anomalies, double dies, off-centers, transitional metals, wrong planchets, misaligned strikes, and missing design elements, can make even a penny worth more than entire mansions, luxury cars, or multi-million-dollar estates. Imagine a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet, such as a 1994 penny created using a leftover transitional bronze blank when it should have been copper-plated zinc. A mistake that would send shockwaves through the coin community and instantly become a historic treasure. Or picture a dramatic double-die obverse where Lincoln's profile appears shadowed, doubled, or ghosted because the die shifted during minting, creating a visible mistake that collectors hunt like hidden gold. Or imagine a broad strike error where the coin expands beyond its normal boundaries and loses part of its rim but still shows clear details. A type of error that numismatists adore because it visually proves the coin escaped the mint's strict quality control. Then there are off-center strikes, the kind where part of Lincoln's face is missing or misaligned, sometimes by 20%, 40%, or even more, and the value skyrockets as the error becomes more dramatic, especially when the date remains visible, because a visible date combined with a massive off-center shift creates some of the most desirable penny errors in existence. Now multiply these possibilities with the fact that the 1994 minting batches were enormous, meaning tiny pockets of rare mistakes could be hiding among billions of ordinary coins, and you begin to understand why collectors treat the rarest 1994 penny varieties like mythological treasure. Some so elusive that only rumors, auction whispers, and private sales hint at their existence. Yet the greatest mystery of all comes from the legendary 1994 experimental error, the one that collectors say was struck using a leftover prototype planchet with an unusual metal composition, creating a weight and feel unlike any standard penny of the era. And while the mint never officially confirmed these anomalies, a handful of collectors claim to have encountered test strikes, off-metal oddities, and pattern-like variants, any one of which could be the reason a single 1994 penny would soar to a staggering $437 million, the kind of value that turns an ordinary person into a multimillionaire overnight and transforms a simple coin into one of the highest valued pieces of American currency ever discussed. Combine this with stories of 1994 pennies found with split dies, cracked dies, multiple clash marks, or ghostly imprints left behind from earlier strike cycles, and each of these errors adds another layer of rarity and value, creating endless possibilities for a truly unique specimen worth historic sums. Many collectors also focus on uncirculated 1994 pennies struck with razor-sharp details, perfect luster, and absolutely no scratches or wear marks, because high-grade mint-state examples can climb in value dramatically, and when a coin has both pristine condition and a rare error on top of it, the price can shoot into the stratosphere. Now imagine the absolute peak variant, a flawless mint-state error penny from 1994 with a dramatic strike mistake, transitional metal composition, and full original luster. This is the kind of coin that auction houses dream of, the kind of coin that could shatter price records, dominate numismatic headlines, and draw in wealthy collectors willing to pay any price for a once-in-a-generation discovery, which is why the rarest theoretical 1994 penny holds a symbolic face value of $437 million in coin-collecting storytelling and viral folklore, representing the ultimate pinnacle of rarity, mystery, and impossibility. This number becomes part of the legend, part of the excitement, part of what pulls viewers into the hunt for rare coins and makes them check their pockets, their change jars, their old drawers, their piggy banks, and boxes that have been sitting untouched for decades, because somewhere out there, waiting to be discovered, could be the next priceless error coin ready to explode into numismatic history. So as you picture this 1994 Lincoln penny, small, simple, copper-colored, silent, easily overlooked, remember that within the world of rare currency, it carries the potential to be more valuable than diamonds, more shocking than buried treasure, and more life-changing than any ordinary object of its size should ever be. And the thrill of this possibility is exactly what keeps collectors hunting, searching, researching, and sharing stories about the strangest, rarest, most extraordinary pennies ever minted. And if this unbelievable journey into the wild world of rare 1994 pennies made you curious, excited, entertained, or inspired to check your own coins, make sure you hit like, share this incredible story, and subscribe. Next, 1989 Lincoln penny. Today, I am bringing you one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and absolutely mind-bending discoveries in the world of rare coins. Because what I am about to share will make every collector, investor, and treasure hunter sit up with excitement. And if you are passionate about numismatics or even mildly curious about how an ordinary pocket change coin can transform into an object worth hundreds of millions of dollars, then stay with me as we dive deep into the incredible story of the 1989 Lincoln penny that has stunned experts, shocked auction houses, and captivated collectors around the world by reaching an unimaginable value of $338 million. A figure so massive that it sets new records and raises countless questions about what makes this simple 1-cent coin so outrageously valuable. And if you enjoy rare coin mysteries and extraordinary discoveries, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping numismatic stories. Because today's topic will take you on a journey through errors, anomalies, minting flaws, accidental variations, and extraordinary possibilities that elevate an ordinary 1989 penny into one of the most priceless treasures ever recorded. So let's begin this deep exploration into the potential reasons that could push a coin from a humble denomination into the stratosphere of wealth, value, and historical significance as collectors continue to obsess over every microscopic detail, minting quirk, and metal anomaly. The first major factor that drives the supposed value of this 1989 Lincoln penny to its unbelievable $338 million price tag is the theory that it was struck on a highly experimental transitional planchet, which was allegedly produced during a brief and undocumented testing phase when the mint was evaluating new metallic compositions for durability, weight reduction, and long-term corrosion resistance, and although no official record confirms such experimentation for that year, strange and extremely rare anomalies in certain surviving specimens have led experts to suspect that unconventional alloy mixes were briefly introduced, possibly due to machinery misfeeds, leftover blanks from earlier years, or internal testing procedures that were never publicly disclosed. If this particular 1989 penny was struck on a planchet composed of an unusual mixture of copper, zinc, manganese, or even traces of experimental metals that should never have appeared in regular circulation, the rarity becomes astronomical, and collectors love items that tell a story of technological transition, mint secrecy, or unexpected material variation, because these characteristics elevate the coin far beyond its face value and turn it into a physical artifact representing a hidden chapter of minting history. Another theory that fuels its unimaginable value is the presence of a dramatic double-die obverse error, one of the most prized and visually striking mistakes in the world of coin collecting, because a double die occurs when the die itself is improperly aligned or shifted during the hubbing process, causing the design to appear doubled, especially around the date, lettering, and Liberty inscription, and if such doubling is extremely sharp, bold, and undeniably visible without magnification, the coin instantly becomes a superstar in the numismatic world. Yet in the case of this mythical 1989 penny, the doubling is said to be exceptionally wild and unusually well-defined, creating a visual uniqueness that collectors cannot resist, raising demand, and amplifying its legendary status. However, doubling alone cannot justify such an outrageous price, so experts speculate that this coin contains multiple overlapping errors, a phenomenon almost unheard of in modern minting where quality control is strict, but mistakes, although rare, still slip through due to mechanical failures, human oversight, or unexpected machine vibrations. Imagine a coin that exhibits a double die obverse, a rotated reverse misalignment, an off-center strike that remains perfectly readable, a clipped planchet section that does not destroy the design, and a die crack that runs dramatically across Lincoln's portrait while leaving intricate patterns that resemble natural veins or lightning-like lines. And then consider that these errors appear simultaneously in one single specimen, creating a cascading sequence of minting chaos. And suddenly you have a coin so bizarrely unique that no other example on Earth could possibly match it. Rarity in numismatics is not just about old age. It is about uniqueness, and when the uniqueness reaches the level of one, collectors with enormous budgets begin to compete aggressively, sometimes irrationally, pushing values into surreal territory, especially if the coin carries a compelling story or visually shocking features. Some specialists argue that the 1989 Lincoln penny in question may have been part of a limited batch struck with an improperly annealed die, meaning the die overheated or cooled unevenly, leading to abnormal texture formation on the coin's surface, texture that resembles a shimmering pattern or layered metal effect, giving the penny a distinctive appearance that collectors interpret as experimental finishing. Such texture anomalies, when combined with misaligned dies or improperly maintained machinery, can produce unexpected and highly desirable minting outcomes that dramatically increase market value. Others believe that the coin may have been accidentally struck on a leftover bronze planchet from 1982 or earlier years, which would be a major historical anomaly because the mint officially transitioned to copper-plated zinc composition after 1982. So a bronze planchet accidentally surviving until 1989 and being used for a strike would be not only improbable but virtually miraculous, instantly elevating the coin to extreme rarity. The weight difference in such a coin would reveal the error, and collectors would consider it one of the most extraordinary transitional mistakes ever discovered, which naturally fuels the argument for astronomical pricing. Another possibility that drives interest is the rumor that the coin displays a multi-strike error, meaning it was struck more than once due to mechanical malfunction, resulting in overlapping images, ghost impressions, and shifted outlines that give the coin an almost artistic, surreal, and unintentional abstract quality, creating a visual identity unlike any other known example from the same year. Multi-strike errors combined with double die features and rotated die alignment create a trifecta of minting anomalies that collectors dream of owning. And when such elements appear flawlessly on a single coin, the potential value skyrockets beyond conventional logic. Additionally, the narrative surrounding this coin is amplified by the myth that it was discovered in a completely ordinary setting, perhaps in a family coin jar, inside a drawer, or even in pocket change, giving it a story similar to legendary finds from the past where unimaginable treasures appeared in the most unexpected places. The mystique of a simple 1-cent coin transforming into a multi-million-dollar artifact due to hidden errors, rare metallurgical quirks, and historic minting mistakes fuels global fascination, and the storyline itself becomes part of the coin's market value because stories create emotional engagement, and emotional engagement drives competitive bidding. Furthermore, collectors speculate that this unique penny may have undergone dramatic die deterioration during the time of its strike, producing intricate die cracks, raised metal fragments, and unusual ridge patterns that give the coin a rugged, almost sculpted texture. Such characteristics, when well preserved despite their chaotic origin, become visually iconic and highly sought after, especially in high-grade condition where every unexpected detail is crisp and sharply defined, creating an irresistible appeal. Another compelling argument concerns potential misalignment during planchet feed, which could have caused slight off-center striking that nevertheless preserved the full date, mint mark, and essential design elements, allowing the error to be dramatic but still aesthetically pleasing. This balance between mistake and readability is critical in determining collector value because dramatic errors that remain visually understandable often sell far higher than those that distort the design beyond recognition. There is also speculation that microengraving anomalies exist within the coin. Tiny variations in relief depth or subtle differences in lettering thickness due to incomplete die polishing, creating microerrors detectable only under magnification but still contributing significantly to rarity. When multiple microerrors align with major visible imperfections, the coin enters a new category of extreme uniqueness, and its legend grows even stronger. Some enthusiasts even theorize that this coin may exhibit a rare lamination error where part of the metal surface peeled slightly during striking, creating layered textures, reflective distortions, or thin metal slivers along the edges. Lamination errors add depth, visual intrigue, and complexity to the coin's narrative, and collectors love coins that display unusual metal behavior. especially when the underlying cause remains mysterious or difficult to replicate. Next, 1987, D. Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into one of the most astonishing coin stories ever told. A tale that pulls you straight into the world of unbelievable numismatic discoveries where a simple 1987 D. Lincoln penny, a coin millions of people have handled without a second thought, has been thrust into the spotlight with an unbelievable estimated value of $339 million because of a combination of rare errors, mysterious minting anomalies, and extraordinary circumstances that collectors have speculated about for decades. And today we are exploring every possibility, every strange imperfection, every whispered theory, and every fascinating detail that makes this particular penny not just a piece of old American pocket change but a mythical treasure whose value is fueled by rarity, speculation, controversy, and the almost magical way certain minting mistakes elevate a coin from ordinary to legendary. And as we begin this exploration, you will understand why this 1987 D penny has captivated the imaginations of collectors around the world, why its errors make it such a numismatic marvel, and how a tiny copper-plated zinc coin created during a routine production year suddenly became one of the most talked-about coins in recent history, drawing collectors into a frenzy fueled by rumors of its astronomical sale potential, its unique visual flaws, and the mysterious set of circumstances that appear to have combined to create something truly once in a lifetime. Because the 1987 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, was never expected to become a rare item since millions upon millions of these coins were minted for everyday use. Yet as with many of the most valuable coins in history, rarity is not always tied to mintage numbers but to the existence of extraordinary mistakes that slipped through quality control and reached circulation. And with this particular penny, the errors appear to be so unusual, so complex, and so visually shocking that seasoned collectors have called it one of the strangest mint error combinations ever reported, beginning with the possibility of a major off-center strike that left the coin dramatically misaligned while still retaining enough detail to be identifiable as a 1987 D issue. An extremely rare combination because most off-center strikes that severe fail to show a date or mint mark, thereby losing their premium, but in this case the date and the D mint mark are said to be perfectly visible even though the coin may show a wild shift of metal that suggests a misfeed of the coin planchet during the striking process, producing a shape that looks warped or stretched, almost as if the coin was pulled to the side during the strike, and collectors know that off-center strikes with clear dates top the list of high-value errors, reaching into the thousands or tens of thousands depending on severity. But this coin is said to go far beyond a simple off-center error, which brings us to the second astonishing mistake, the presence of a double die. On the obverse, visible in the sharp, shadowed doubling on the letters of Liberty, the date, and possibly even Lincoln's profile, a doubling so bold that it can be seen without magnification, a rarity on modern coins since the mint began using improved technology designed to reduce such issues, making such a dramatic 1987 double die almost unheard of. And when collectors encounter a double die this strong on any Lincoln penny, the value skyrockets, as seen in the famous 1955 double die or the equally legendary 1972 double die, and combining a major double die with a severe off-center strike on the same coin is virtually unheard of because most mint errors occur separately or in minor combinations. Yet reports suggest that this 1987 D penny may contain nearly 3 major errors simultaneously, something so improbable that collectors have speculated that the coin must have been struck under bizarre conditions, possibly involving a mechanical malfunction where a misaligned die, rotated die, and a misfed planchet all converged at the exact same moment, producing a once-in-a-century minting mistake. And to add to the intrigue, some examinations mention the possibility of a broad strike error, where the coin was struck without a collar, causing it to spread out slightly wider than normal and giving it a flattened appearance around the rim, again contributing to a combination of errors that simply should not coexist on one coin, making this 1987 D penny something of a numismatic anomaly that experts continue to puzzle over. And another reason collectors consider it so valuable is the speculation that the penny may have been struck on the wrong planchet entirely, a rare phenomenon in which a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or metal type, which has happened with other Lincoln pennies throughout history, such as the famous pennies struck on dime planchets or the legendary 1943 copper penny that became worth millions. Because of the extraordinary confusion in planchet allocation during wartime minting, and if this 1987 D penny was indeed struck on a transitional or misassigned planchet, the value increases exponentially, especially when combined with visible die errors already mentioned, all of which creates a coin that appears to defy normal minting logic. Something so unusual that experts have speculated about whether the penny was the result of an experimental strike, a mechanical failure, or even an accidental retention of misaligned dies used during maintenance. And these theories only fuel the mystique surrounding the coin because a rare error becomes more legendary when its origins are unclear. And in the world of coin collecting, mystery is a value enhancer because collectors love the unknown, the unusual, and the inexplicable. And when those qualities merge with dramatic visible errors, the demand skyrockets, along with the theoretical value, which is how the number $339 million entered the conversation, because what drives the price of an error coin beyond its objective market value is the collector's impulse to own something literally irreplaceable, something no other collector can match, something that cannot be replicated no matter how advanced technology becomes, because mint errors are accidents of history, unrepeatable, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. And when a coin displays multiple radical errors simultaneously, especially in a modern minting era known for precision, collectors view it almost as a miracle, and miracles command premium prices when collectors compete, bidding not merely on the coin but on the emotion, the rarity, and the privilege of owning something that transcends normal numismatic logic. And though no official sale has ever been verified at such a level, the theoretical value is based on the idea that if the world's wealthiest collectors entered a bidding war over this singular coin, the price could reach a number as staggering as $339 million. Something that sounds unimaginable to the casual observer but becomes more plausible when you consider the record-breaking prices achieved by art, artifacts, and collectibles that owe their worth not to material but to uniqueness, historical significance, and narrative power. And this coin possesses all three in abundance, because its errors tell a story, its rarity creates suspense, and its existence challenges what collectors thought they understood about minting accuracy in the 1980s, making this coin not just valuable but historically fascinating, and the descriptions of the coin's physical features only add to the intrigue. Distortions around the rim showing uneven metal flow, raised doubling on Lincoln's profile that looks almost ghost-like, a D mint mark that appears slightly rotated or shadowed, lettering that seems stretched in places where the metal may have slipped during the strike, a surface texture that hints at heat exposure or pressure inconsistencies, and subtle misalignments that make the coin feel alive, as though it froze a moment of mechanical chaos in solid form. And collectors who have seen similar multi-error coins know how mesmerizing they can be because each angle reveals a new flaw, a new clue, a new layer of complexity, and these visual elements are part of why the coin is so prized, because errors must not only be rare, they must be dramatic, visible, and aesthetically striking, and this coin reportedly checks every box, making it a perfect storm of numismatic fascination. And the value also stems from the cultural phenomenon surrounding rare Lincoln pennies in general, as certain years have become legends among collectors: 1909 SVDB, 1914 D, 1922 No D, 1955 double die, 1969 S double die, 1983 double die reverse, 1992 close AM, 1995 double die. And when a coin from 1987, a seemingly ordinary year, suddenly enters this pantheon of legends, it disrupts expectations and ignites interest even more, especially when the supposed errors defy typical patterns, because collectors love surprises, and surprises that occur on widely circulated coins spark waves of searching, speculation, discussion, and controversy, turning an ordinary year into a historical one. And that is exactly what has happened with this elusive 1987 D penny, whose rumored discovery triggered conversations, debates, and analysis from experts who still struggle to fully explain how so many different minting errors could appear on one coin. Next, 1989 D Lincoln penny. We deep dive into one of the most extraordinary and mind-bending stories in modern numismatics, as we explore the unbelievable tale of the 1989 D Lincoln penny that collectors claim could soar to a jaw-dropping value of $340 million due to its rare combination of dramatic errors, unexpected minting mistakes, and the almost mythical possibilities surrounding its creation, drawing coin enthusiasts from around the world into discussions filled with excitement, speculation, and the thrill of uncovering hidden treasures that may have been lying unnoticed in jars, drawers, and pockets for decades. And today we embark on a journey through every fascinating detail of what makes this particular penny so intriguing, from the minting conditions of the late 1980s to the specific anomalies that fuel its legendary reputation, inviting viewers to immerse themselves in a story that blends history, mystery, rarity, and the electrifying dream of discovering unimaginable wealth in a coin that most people would overlook without a second thought. The 1989 D-penny enters the spotlight not because its normal version is valuable, but because a handful of rumored error pieces possess such extraordinary characteristics that collectors have speculated that their worth could surpass any known sale in the penny category. And the first layer of intrigue comes from the Denver Mint's production style during that era, which was known for high-volume output that occasionally resulted in mishaps when dies wore down faster than expected or when planchet preparation failed to meet proper standards, creating conditions ripe for dramatic errors, and those potential misstrikes form the foundation of the coin's legendary status. Among the possibilities that collectors discuss with breathless fascination is the chance that a 1989 D-penny may exist with a double-die obverse so extreme that Abraham Lincoln's profile appears boldly shadowed, almost as though two portraits were pressed onto the coin with slightly shifted alignment. And if such a coin were discovered in crisp, uncirculated condition, the value could skyrocket, not simply because of the error itself but because of its rarity, historical context, and the collector frenzy it would generate, creating a perfect storm of demand that drives prices far beyond rational expectations. Another major factor adding to the mystique is the possibility of a transitional error from the year, especially because the composition of the penny had changed earlier in the decade, switching from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc planchet that behaved differently during striking, sometimes causing brittle fractures, plating bubbles, or exposed zinc patches that form striking visual anomalies, and when these imperfections combine with off-center strikes, incomplete rims, or retained cud breaks on the die, the result is a coin that looks dramatically unique, almost like a one-of-a-kind creation that no mint could intentionally replicate, and collectors place extraordinary value on uniqueness because it ensures that no competition exists for a particular specimen. In discussions about the $340 million estimate, many experts emphasize that while no coin has officially sold for such an amount, speculative storytelling about ultra-rare errors fuels the belief that a perfect storm scenario could occur, especially if the coin boasts a combination of multiple significant errors. For example, a broad strike that removes the standard rim, a misaligned die strike that places the portrait partially toward the edge, doubling on the date and lettering, and a reverse that shows signs of die cracking or delamination, creating a coin that appears almost sculptural in its imperfections. And the more dramatic the visual impact, the more intense the potential bidding wars among high-profile collectors who prioritize rarity over historical norms, which is why imaginative projections of extremely high values continue to attract widespread interest. The legend surrounding the 1989 D-penny also includes the possibility of a mule error, a situation where a coin is struck using mismatched dies, such as pairing a Lincoln penny obverse with a reverse die intended for a different denomination. While this is exceedingly rare, the mere suggestion that such a hybrid coin could exist sends waves of excitement through collector communities because mule coins are among the most valuable anomalies ever documented. And if a genuine 1989 D-mule penny were authenticated, its value could easily soar into the hundreds of millions due to its assumed status as a once-in-history mistake. Adding to the aura of mystery is the idea that certain coins from the late 1980s may have been struck using experimental dies or testing equipment that was not intended for public release, meaning that a tiny number of test strikes could have slipped into circulation. And if a 1989 D-penny with such provenance were discovered, its value would come not only from its rarity but from its connection to secretive mint procedures, giving it a layer of historical intrigue that collectors cherish. Another compelling possibility involves major planchet errors such as being struck on the wrong metal blank entirely. Imagine a 1989 D-penny struck on a dime planchet, creating a coin that is noticeably smaller, lighter, and silver in color, or struck on a foreign coin planchet that accidentally entered the minting process. Such coins already fetch considerable sums when verified by grading authorities, and if a particularly dramatic example surfaced featuring additional errors like doubling or off-center alignment, collectors could easily assign astronomical values. What makes the $340 million figure so captivating is not realism but the magnitude of imagination that surrounds a coin with so many potential types of errors, each of which magnifies the story behind the piece, and stories are often as valuable to collectors as the physical coin itself, because owning a coin with a legendary backstory allows them to preserve a moment in minting history that is both accidental and extraordinary, making them custodians of a rare artifact shaped by chance rather than intention. In discussions of value, condition always plays a vital role, and the possibility that an error coin from 1989D could survive in pristine, mint state condition only intensifies the mythical valuation, because error coins found in circulation are usually damaged or heavily worn. But if someone unknowingly tucked an error penny into a protective jar, box, or collection decades ago and forgot about it, the coin may still exist with razor-sharp details, glossy surfaces, and virtually no signs of handling, driving collectors into bidding frenzies as they compete for a chance to own such an immaculate piece. Another reason this coin's legend spreads so quickly online and among enthusiasts is the emotional thrill of discovering wealth in an unexpected place, and the idea that a simple penny from 1989, something millions of people have touched, spent, or dismissed, could secretly harbor a fortune taps into a universal sense of curiosity and hope, encouraging people to re-examine their pocket change with renewed enthusiasm and fueling social media posts, re-upload trends, and viral stories about suddenly discovering life-changing treasures. The contrast between the everyday nature of a penny and the fantastical value attached to the rarest error versions creates a tension that keeps audiences engaged, because people love the notion that value can hide in plain sight, and this drives the continuing fascination with stories about the 1989D penny, prompting countless searchers to hunt through bulk coin bags, old piggy banks, inherited collections, and thrift store purchases, hoping to become the next person to uncover a legendary piece. Its potential value also reflects the broader excitement of numismatics, where rarity, condition, history, and error uniqueness all converge to determine worth. And while the $340 million figure sits at the extreme edge of speculative enthusiasm, it encapsulates the excitement of the chase, inspiring collectors to imagine what might be possible if the right combination of errors, preservation, and bitter competition align perfectly, creating a market environment where extraordinary sums are not entirely inconceivable. Perhaps the most captivating aspect of the 1989D penny story is the way it blends fact and possibility. Mint errors do exist. Extremely rare coins do sometimes sell for shocking amounts. Collectors do engage in fierce bidding battles, and unusual coin discoveries do occur unexpectedly. So even though the legendary multimillion-dollar valuation remains speculative, the underlying components that fuel the story are rooted in real numismatic history, making the legend feel accessible rather than impossible, which keeps the narrative alive and thriving. Ultimately, the 1989D penny's mythical $340 million value reflects the powerful blend of imagination, rarity, and the human desire to discover something extraordinary hiding within the ordinary, and whether or not such a coin ever surfaces. The story continues to inspire, entertain, and captivate people everywhere, illustrating that even the smallest object can carry an enormous tale, one capable of sparking fascination across generations. Next, 2012, D. Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into one of the most shocking, mind-bending, and conversation-starting stories in the entire world of modern coin collecting, because today we are exploring the outrageous claim, the legend, and the fascinating mysteries surrounding the 2012 D. Lincoln penny that many collectors insist could be worth an astonishing $341 million due to a combination of rare errors, unusual minting mistakes, and speculative possibilities that have fueled endless debate, excitement, and curiosity. And, as we unfold this incredible tale, you will understand why some hobbyists believe that a simple 1-cent coin from Denver has transformed into a mythical treasure, sparking discussions about mint technology, production flaws, hidden varieties, and the surprising ways even the most modern coins can become the center of viral attention, collector hype, and speculative enthusiasm. And whether or not such a valuation is realistic, the story itself is full of twists, theories, and captivating details that make coin collectors lean forward, examine their pocket change with new intensity, and imagine for just a moment what it would feel like to discover a tiny copper-plated zinc coin that could turn into life-changing wealth due to the rare combination of mistakes and mysteries that set it apart from ordinary pennies. The story begins with the 2012 D. Lincoln penny, a coin from a year that seems far too recent and far too ordinary to hide any shocking secrets. Yet the numismatic world has always recognized one truth. Sometimes the most unexpected coins deliver the biggest surprises, because any year, any mint, and any batch of coins can experience technical glitches, mechanical misalignments, or striking abnormalities that escape quality control, slip into circulation, and eventually become highly valuable. Collectibles, and when collectors began discovering unusual 2012D pennies with strange markings, doubled elements, inconsistent thicknesses, and surface distortions not typically associated with modern minting equipment, curiosity exploded, leading many to wonder what caused these peculiar variations. Some of the earliest reports focused on doubling, because double dies are among the most famous and valuable mint errors in U.S. coinage history, and although the Denver Mint usually has extremely strict production standards, a few examples surfaced with what appeared to be subtle doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." And while none of these were officially recognized as major double die varieties, the speculation alone made collectors inspect their coins very closely, imagining the possibility that an undiscovered or extremely limited double die variety from 2012 could exist. And once a rumor of rarity spreads in the hobby, values begin to inflate rapidly, sometimes beyond what is rational, especially when collectors feel they might stumble upon a groundbreaking discovery. But doubling wasn't the only odd feature reported. Some collectors described off-center strikes where the design shifted slightly to one side, creating missing borders, uneven rims, or distorted lettering, and such errors can indeed be valuable, particularly when the off-center shift is dramatic or when essential design elements remain visible. And while most 2012D pennies are perfectly centered, the idea that a small number slipped through the presses with misaligned dies contributed to the growing belief that 2012 was a year full of unusual minting events. And the more people searched, the more stories circulated about clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin appears cut away due to a metal strip feeding error, and these irregular crescent-shaped cuts often attract collectors who love visibly dramatic errors. Other collectors reported strange plating issues, since post-1982 pennies are copper-plated zinc coins, and sometimes the thin copper layer does not adhere correctly, causing bubbles, peeling, flaking, or exposed zinc surfaces. And while plating blisters are common and usually not valuable, some rarer forms of plating damage create unusual textures or raised shapes that resemble truly unique mint flaws, resulting in further excitement and wild speculation about whether any irregularly plated 2012D penny could be considered an ultra-rare collectible. As the internet grabbed hold of these error stories, the mythology of the 2012D penny began to grow, with some collectors jokingly suggesting that an extremely bizarre and possibly unique error coin could reach astronomical values, and the number $341 million, though clearly exaggerated, became part of the viral lore, a symbol of how unpredictable and thrilling the coin hobby can be when imagination meets possibility. And long discussions unfolded about the extremely unlikely but not entirely impossible scenario of a one-of-a-kind mint blunder, perhaps a coin struck on a foreign planchet, a test metal planchet, or even on the wrong denomination's blank, such as a nickel or dime planchet, which could dramatically increase a coin's value. While official documentation of such an error does not exist, the theoretical chance of a misplanchet strike is part of what fuels collectors' dreams, because minting machines occasionally feed the wrong blank into the press, creating legendary coins like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent. And if something remotely similar happened in 2012, even with modern bronze-plated zinc composition, its rarity could be monumental. Some speculate that an improperly annealed planchet, a coin blank overheated in a way that alters its color or hardness, could exist among the 2012D population, producing coins with unusual surfaces, darker tones, or inconsistent color transitions from edge to center. And while most of these discolorations can result from environmental damage, collectors love the possibility of a genuine mint-caused variant. Another theory involves striking pressure irregularities, where the coin may have been struck too hard or too softly, resulting in deeply imprinted or shallow details. And such coins stand out visually because the relief and contour of Lincoln's portrait appear unusually bold or strangely flat, which sometimes misleads new collectors into assuming they found a rare treasure when in reality the variation is minor. Still, the rare chance of a meaningful striking pressure error encouraged many to believe that the 2012D penny might hide a handful of extraordinary coins waiting to be discovered. As hype grew, so did the fascination with speculative value, because in the world of collectibles, extreme valuations often reflect storytelling, rarity rumors, and emotional excitement rather than verified market data. And when people heard about coins supposedly worth hundreds of millions, they began searching their spare change, posting photos online, and sharing stories of unusual finds, which only made the legend stronger. And even though experts emphasize that modern pennies almost never sell for such enormous amounts, the public's imagination transformed the 2012 penny into a kind of treasure hunt symbol, a coin whose potential errors represent the dream of finding wealth in the most ordinary places. Another fascinating element of this story is the idea that mistakes in die preparation during 2012 may have created microvarieties detectable only with magnification, such as die chips, cracks, extra metal in the letters, or tiny breaks in the die itself, which can produce raised bumps, unusual lines, or extra shapes on the coin's surface. And although these minor varieties usually have modest value, collectors love to catalog them and sometimes assign dramatic names to especially interesting formations, such as extra thickness on the beard, cracks near the shield on the reverse, or chips inside the date or mint mark. And once such varieties gain a nickname, awareness and demand can increase significantly. Over time, the story of the 2012 penny evolved into a blend of real numismatic concepts, enthusiastic speculation, exaggerated claims, and the universal thrill of imagining that a simple coin in your pocket could hold unimaginable value. And while $341 million is not a realistic price for any penny, the narrative reminds people that unexpected discoveries still happen, and minting errors, whether dramatic or tiny, continue to inspire collectors who enjoy the challenge of searching for rare pieces, analyzing small details, and learning the difference between genuine mint errors and ordinary damage. The appeal of the 2012 penny also lies in its cultural resonance, because in a world where most people overlook pennies as insignificant, a story like this transforms a common object into a symbol of hidden value, encouraging viewers to pay closer attention, appreciate craftsmanship, and understand that every coin has a story, a production process, and a set of possibilities that could make it far more interesting than its face value suggests. And the idea of a modern penny commanding an astronomical price sparks conversations about what makes collectibles valuable, highlighting factors such as rarity, condition, demand, historical context, and error types, all of which can create surprising spikes in value. Next, 2008 Lincoln penny. We deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in modern coin collecting as we unravel the unbelievable tale of the 2008 Lincoln penny that collectors claim could reach a staggering value of $342 million because of its extraordinary combination of errors, striking mishaps, metal anomalies, and mysterious minting circumstances that make it one of the most discussed coins among enthusiasts who love exploring the hidden possibilities behind rare American currency. And today we are going to walk through every detail, every strange defect, every improbable scenario, and every reason why this tiny copper-plated zinc coin, originally worth just 1 cent, has captured the imagination of collectors who believe that certain extremely rare varieties of 2008 pennies have the potential to achieve a value so extraordinary that it almost defies logic, yet becomes understandable when you break down the incredible mixture of minting errors that can create unbelievably rare multi-million-dollar coins. And as we go through this exploration, you will understand how a single mistake, or sometimes even a series of mistakes happening together in perfect chaotic timing, can turn an ordinary circulating coin into a priceless treasure that experts dream about finding. Because the 2008 Lincoln penny is a coin produced during a year when the Denver Mint experienced several unusual issues linked to die deterioration, plating inconsistencies, improperly annealed planchets, double die elements, misaligned striking, and even the rare possibility of transitional metal mistakes due to the Mint's experimentation with planchet batches. And all these factors have led collectors to theorize that certain examples of the 2008 penny may exist with an unprecedented combination of errors so dramatic that their theoretical value is pushed into the hundreds of millions, especially when a coin's story spreads through numismatic circles where rarity, uniqueness, and photographic proof can elevate the price into unimaginable territory. So when we talk about the $342 million figure, we're really talking about the absolute peak of what collectors speculate could happen if the most extreme possible version of this error coin was ever authenticated. And not just authenticated but also confirmed as a one-of-a-kind minting anomaly that no other coin has ever matched before. Because the world of rare coins is shaped by moments of extreme uniqueness where the value is based not on the metal itself but on the impossibility of the event that created the coin. And the 2008 Lincoln penny is famous among collectors precisely because it is one of those dates where a variety of known errors occurred. Yet rumors persist of even more dramatic and unconfirmed errors that could exist in private collections or unsearched rolls, and these rumors fuel the excitement as collectors imagine the possibilities. For example, one of the most well-documented types of errors found on 2008 pennies involves severe die deterioration doubling, where the design elements appear stretched, shadowed, or duplicated due to overused dies that were not replaced in time. And while ordinary doubling does not necessarily create multimillion-dollar coins, extreme doubling caused by severe die damage combined with misalignment can produce a coin with features so distorted that it becomes visually shocking. And another known issue is plating bubbles, which occur when gas becomes trapped under the copper plating of the zinc planchet, creating raised bumps or unusual surface distortions. And while plating bubbles are common in minor form, severe bubbles that deform major design elements can qualify as major errors which drastically increase the value. And then there is the matter of improperly annealed planchets where the metal is not heated correctly before striking, leading to discoloration, rough texture, unusual black or red patches, or an inconsistent metallic composition which visually stands out from regular pennies and becomes a prized mint error. And once you combine these issues with the possibility of off-center strikes where the design is shifted, broad-struck coins where the collar fails to hold the planchet in place, or even double-struck coins where the penny is hit twice in slightly different positions creating a doubled outline of Lincoln's bust or the lettering, you begin to see how a chain reaction of multiple minting mishaps could theoretically produce an error penny unlike anything else from the modern era, and collectors love to imagine the ultra-rare scenario where all these mistakes happen at once. An improperly annealed planchet, extreme die deterioration doubling, plating bubbles, a misaligned strike, and maybe even a second strike rotation, creating a coin so visually unique and so historically improbable that its value skyrockets beyond normal reasoning. Because when something becomes absolutely one-of-a-kind, traditional pricing no longer applies, and in the world of collectibles, uniqueness equals power, influence, and money, especially when that uniqueness is backed by verified minting science rather than artificial modification. And what makes the 2008 penny even more fascinating is the context of the year itself, because 2008 was a time of major shifts and economic strain in the United States, which affected mint production processes and added to the possibility of rushed decisions, hurried die usage and quality control oversights, and when the U.S. Mint is under pressure, unusual errors are more likely to occur, allowing rare coins to slip through unnoticed into circulation, and that is exactly what makes the story of the 2008 penny so thrilling. The idea that someone somewhere could possess a coin that the mint never intended the public to see, a coin that should have been melted, rejected, or corrected, yet instead found its way into pocket change, rolls, or inherited coin jars, waiting to be discovered, and the possibility alone has inspired thousands of collectors to examine their pennies with magnification tools, lighting setups, and digital microscopes, hoping that they might be the one to uncover the legendary multimillion-dollar error coin. And when a coin has a reputation like this, value becomes tied not just to what has been found but also to what might still be hidden, because the greatest excitement in numismatics comes not from what we already know but from what we have yet to uncover, and the speculation about a $342 million example comes from the idea that if someone discovered a 2008 penny exhibiting multiple extreme mint errors simultaneously, perhaps a die cap strike combined with a double strike combined with a rotated die combined with a transitional metal planchet, then that coin would be historically unparalleled, and collectors would bid astronomical amounts due to its impossibility and historical significance. And although such an extreme example has not yet surfaced publicly, the theories persist because the Denver Mint has produced rare multi-error coins in other years, and whenever a mint demonstrates the capacity for major mistakes, collectors know that the potential exists for even greater undiscovered anomalies, and the value of such coins is further enhanced by the psychological thrill of uniqueness, because once a coin becomes known as the only one of its kind, collectors, museums, historians, and investors may all compete to obtain it, driving the price into levels that seem unbelievable to the average person but quite reasonable within the high-stakes world of elite numismatics. And that is why the story of the 2008 penny valued at $342 million continues to capture interest among viewers and collectors who love imagining the hidden possibilities within ordinary coins, because every penny carries a story, and some stories are so extraordinary that they elevate a simple 1-cent piece into a legendary treasure. That keeps people searching, hoping, and dreaming. And if you enjoy exploring these astonishing possibilities within the world of rare coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more incredible discoveries. Next, 1999 Lincoln Penny. Everyone today, as we dive into one of the most unbelievable, mind-bending, and conversation-starting stories in the entire world of rare coins. A story that has gripped collectors, experts, hobbyists, and curious viewers everywhere. So get ready as we explore the extraordinary tale of a simple 1999 Lincoln penny that has been linked to an astonishing estimated value of $343 million. A number so outrageous that it makes people wonder how a coin that normally buys almost nothing could ever reach such unimaginable worth. And today we will break down the possibilities, the rumors, the theories, the errors, and the incredible mistakes that might turn an everyday 1-cent coin into an object of fascination that collectors fantasize about. Because when a coin from a modern year like 1999 suddenly becomes the center of attention for its supposed multimillion-dollar price, there must be a story behind it, and that story often starts with the rarest category of all. Mint errors, those unintentional flaws that escape quality checks and slip into circulation, becoming the dream find of anyone lucky enough to spot one in a handful of pocket change. And the 1999 Lincoln penny, already a coin with historical weight because it marks the edge of the century, has several alleged rare anomalies that collectors have speculated about, errors so dramatic that they transform the coin's identity, beginning with the possibility of a double-struck imprint. Because, imagine a penny struck twice and misaligned the second time, leaving Abraham Lincoln's profile shifted, stretched, or ghost-like, creating a shadowy duplicate effect that is unmistakable and extremely valuable, especially when the double strike is clear enough to be visible to the naked eye, since coins with this kind of error can be worth thousands on their own, and if the double strike happens in combination with other mistakes, the value can multiply dramatically. Now imagine another layer of rarity. A broad strike, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails and the metal spreads outward, producing a coin that looks wider, flatter, and distorted around the edges, which can be worth a considerable amount depending on the severity of the effect. And when collectors speculate about a one-of-a-kind combination of double strike plus broad strike plus misalignment, the theoretical value skyrockets because a perfect storm of mint errors is the kind of thing that drives auction numbers through the roof. Then consider the reports of off-metal planchet errors, one of the most coveted types of rare mistakes, occurring when a coin is struck on the wrong metal blank entirely, meaning that instead of being struck on the normal copper-plated zinc planchet of 1999, the penny could have been accidentally stamped on a transitional bronze planchet left over from previous years, or even more shockingly, a foreign coin planchet from another country, something that has happened before in mint history and always results in rarity and collector frenzy. And if such a mix-up occurred, and if the coin also possessed multiple striking errors at the same time, this could theoretically make the coin priceless to the right bidder. But the possibilities do not end there, because enthusiasts and experts often talk about the mysterious category of mule errors, which occur when the front of a coin is paired with the wrong back entirely, such as a cent obverse matched with a dime reverse, something so bizarre and so unexpected that it becomes instantly legendary. And although there are no widely proven mule pennies from 1999 known to the public, the mere idea of such an accidental combination fuels the imagination of collectors who dream of stumbling upon the rarest possible version of the coin, and the speculation that the rumored $343 million penny might be an ultra-rare mule adds yet another layer of intrigue. However, the enormous value attached to this coin is not only about physical errors but also about the cultural context surrounding the year 1999. A year filled with anticipation, anxiety, and excitement as the world approached the new millennium. A time when anything associated with the transition from the 20th century to the 21st took on symbolic significance, making collectors more willing to attach emotional and historical value to artifacts from that period. And if a 1999 penny were to surface with a once-in-a-lifetime error, its worth could easily be amplified by the era's sentimental importance. Now imagine that such a penny was not only an error coin but also one with an extraordinary backstory, such as being part of a mint batch produced on a day when machinery malfunctioned, workers were unaware of the mistake, and a handful of flawed coins entered circulation unnoticed, only to vanish for decades into drawers, jars, wallets, and pockets before someone discovered the anomaly, and the combination of rarity, mystery, and historical timing could push collectors' imaginations to the limit. Some speculate that the theoretical price tag of $343 million might have originated from the idea of a private collector, a billionaire perhaps, willing to outbid anyone else for the bragging rights of owning the holy grail of modern coin errors, because in the world of ultra-rich hobbyists, the worth of an object is often tied not only to its rarity but also to the prestige it brings, and the idea that a wealthy collector might offer a wildly inflated price is not impossible, especially in private sales where records are not always made public. Beyond that, there are stories about color variations in the penny, such as extreme copper toning from chemical exposure, fire damage that caused the metal to warp in an unusual yet visually striking way, or a manufacturing anomaly in which the copper layer was applied unevenly, producing streaks or patterns that are unlike anything normally seen, and although these effects can occur naturally, a particularly dramatic or unique version could add aesthetic appeal that increases the speculative value. Moreover, the idea of a penny becoming worth hundreds of millions is also fueled by online excitement, viral videos, exaggerated claims, and the fascination people have with the possibility that something so ordinary could be secretly extraordinary. And once a rumor spreads, it becomes a legend of its own, encouraging treasure hunters to check their pockets, examine their old jars of spare change, and dream about finding the next unbelievable coin. The 1999 penny, in particular, inspires these dreams because it sits on the border between two centuries, carries the iconic image of Lincoln, and has known varieties such as the wide AM and close AM differences in the reverse lettering, which collectors carefully examine, because although these varieties do not usually reach enormous values on their own, the existence of variations makes people believe that even more unusual errors might be out there waiting to be discovered. And once a rare feature is known to exist, imagination fills in the rest. Furthermore, there are the hypothetical possibilities of die cracks, where breaks in the minting die create raised lines across the surface of the coin, forming shapes that sometimes resemble lightning bolts, letters, or unusual marks, and these can add value depending on how dramatic they appear, or the presence of die chips, where pieces of the die fall away and leave blobs of raised metal in places like Lincoln's eye, coat, or the lettering, creating quirky effects that become sought after. Then there are rotated dies where the front and back images are stamped at different angles, making the coin look twisted when flipped, another type of error that adds rarity. And if a 1999 penny had an extreme rotation combined with other errors, collectors would certainly view it as exceptional. And let us not forget weak strikes, where the image appears faint due to insufficient pressure, or over-polished dies that cause missing details, both of which can create unusual visual presentations that spark collector interest. But the most valuable combinations of all are those involving multiple major errors occurring simultaneously. And when people imagine the $343 million penny, they often imagine exactly that, a coin so uniquely flawed that it could never be duplicated. So, when we put all of these elements together, the double strike possibilities, the off-metal theories, the mule rumors, the toning variations, the historical context, the legendary status, the viral excitement, and the collector fantasies, we end up with a story that captures the imagination of millions, reminding us that even the smallest object can carry a world of wonder, and this is why people continue searching through their change, examining every penny, and hoping that somewhere, somehow, genuine, extraordinary 1999 error penny exists, waiting to be found and turning an ordinary moment into an extraordinary discovery. And as we wrap up this deep exploration of the legendary $343 million 1999 penny, remember to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more incredible stories that may just inspire your next treasure hunt. Next, 1989 Lincoln penny. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and imagination-stretching stories in the world of rare coins, where ordinary pocket change can transform into legendary treasures and where a single cent, yes, a simple 1989 Lincoln penny, can ignite massive excitement because collectors believe that its unusual features, its mysterious origin story, its conflicting minting details, and its dramatic production anomalies could make it worth an eye-popping and mind-shaking $344 million, sparking endless discussions about how a coin crafted from basic copper-plated zinc could reach a value so outrageous that it almost defies logic. yet somehow feels possible when we explore the strange sequence of minting errors, die varieties, mechanical failures, metal inconsistencies, and production circumstances that all blend together to shape this coin's enormous mythical worth. And today we are taking you through every angle, every possibility, and every theory in a single, long, detailed journey designed to keep you engaged from start to finish as we explore why this tiny piece of change from 1989 has captivated collectors and treasure hunters who believe that certain rare examples may contain such dramatic mistakes that the coin becomes more like a historical rarity than a regular penny. Beginning with the idea that the U.S. Mint, during the late 1980s, was shifting through various phases of production adjustments as technological systems were being updated, which created conditions where accidental double striking, off-center impressions, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, transitional metal errors, and die deterioration could all occur more frequently, and enthusiasts suggest that a hypothetical ultra-rare 1989 penny combining multiple abnormalities could command a value so extreme that collectors would bid without hesitation, leading to the fantasy-driven belief that a specimen with layered errors might reach the staggering $344 million mark, a value that sounds impossible yet gains traction when imagining a one-of-a-kind piece whose mistakes are so extraordinary that it becomes a museum-level artifact. And to understand this mythic scenario, we must look closely at the types of errors enthusiasts imagine for such a coin, beginning with the possibility of a double die obverse, where Lincoln's portrait might show crisp doubling along the ear, chin, jawline, and neck, producing a dramatic visual shift that collectors prize because doubled dies indicate a flaw in the die creation process rather than simple machine vibration, making them far more valuable, and pairing that with a double die reverse, where the Lincoln Memorial, its pillars, the roofline, and the tiny statue of Lincoln could also show noticeable duplication, would already make the coin remarkable. But then imagining the doubling combined with a misaligned die that pushes the design slightly upward or downward creates an unusually distorted strike, making the text, portrait, and memorial appear shifted in a way that experienced collectors immediately recognize as rare. And then considering that such a coin could also include a broad strike error, where the collar fails and the metal expands outward, adds a dramatic visual presence, giving the coin a wide and irregular silhouette that departs from standard dimensions. And then thinking further, we layer a clipped planchet error, where a small crescent-shaped section is missing due to improper punching of metal sheets, creating a coin that not only looks different but also carries clear evidence of mechanical malfunction. And if this imaginary combination continues, we then picture the coin being struck on a transitional planchet, perhaps one intended for a previous or later year, meaning the coin could theoretically be composed of an unexpected metal blend, creating a weight difference detectable by scale and offering another rare trait that makes collectors question how such a coin exists at all. And as the theories grow more complex, people imagine the penny having die cracks running across the portrait or stretching through the memorial, forming tiny raised lines caused by weakening metal in the die itself, which collectors love because die cracks serve as unique signatures that identify specific moments in the mint's production timeline, and stacking this with a split plating error, where the copper coating separates from the zinc core, reveals bright silver-colored streaks that contrast against the coin's original surface, producing a striking visual that enhances the coin's uniqueness. And then imagine the most extreme scenario where the coin was accidentally struck on a foreign planchet meant for a different country's coinage, something that has happened occasionally in mint history, creating a dramatically lighter or heavier penny with an unexpected ring when dropped on a table, further boosting its hypothetical value. And by the time collectors mentally assemble all these imagined errors into one mythical 1989 penny, the story takes on a life of its own, transforming the coin from simple currency into an imagined artifact of chaotic minting history. And for many enthusiasts, this possibility alone drives speculation that a flawless stacking of rare errors, double dies, broad strikes, clipped planchets, split plating, foreign planchet strikes, off-center impressions, and misalignments could make the coin worth hundreds of millions due to its unique combination of features that no other collector could ever obtain. And although such an extreme coin has never been confirmed, the fascination it generates fuels the legend, leading people to search their drawers, jars, and old collections with hope that they might stumble on the jackpot. And this excitement grows when considering how collectors react to historically rare coins such as the 1943 bronze cent or the 1955 double die, which have already commanded high prices, proving that minting mistakes can indeed transform everyday coins into extraordinary treasures. And with that precedent, people imagine that a hypothetical 1989 penny containing multiple compounded flaws could surpass every record, especially if documented as a one-of-a-kind anomaly, and enthusiasts also speculate about the coin's origin, imagining a scenario in which a mint worker accidentally fed the wrong planchet batch into the press, producing a few experimental strikes before the error was discovered, or envisioning that a malfunctioning press created overlapping strikes that went unnoticed during routine inspection, or even suggesting that an unusual batch of copper-plated zinc sheets contained impurities or thickness variations that altered the coin's composition, contributing to its uniqueness. And such stories blend technical possibilities with collector imagination, creating a narrative where this fictional coin becomes more valuable than rare art, luxury vehicles, or entire properties. And people often add that the coin's appeal is not just in the errors themselves but in the mystery behind them, because collectors cherish not only the physical traits but also the historical and mechanical curiosity surrounding how such a coin could exist at all. And part of the allure lies in imagining that this coin, if found, would become a worldwide sensation, attracting the attention of museums, high-profile collectors, and millionaire investors who love acquiring the rarest objects. And drawing on this, fantasy collectors believe bidding wars could escalate so dramatically that the price might reach $344 million, transforming the coin into an object of legend. And the story of such a coin encourages people to examine every detail of their change more carefully, inspiring treasure-hunting spirit as they inspect the rim for unusual narrowing or widening, examine the lettering for doubling or distortion, shine a flashlight over the surface to detect plating splits or unusual color transitions, listen for the distinctive metallic ring that suggests non-standard planchet composition, and weigh the coin to evaluate whether it deviates from standard mass, all because the possibility, however hypothetical, drives fascination, and collectors love the thrill of maybe holding something extraordinary. And while the rational mind knows the value is fictional, the imagination embraces the narrative because it is entertaining, inspiring, and full of mystery. And these stories help people learn about minting technology, error categorization, die mechanics, planchet preparation, and historical coin production, and that educational aspect enriches the hobby, making people more observant, more curious, and more appreciative of the artistry and precision behind each coin. Even though mistakes occasionally slip through the minting process, reminding us that machines, like humans, are not perfect, and imperfections often lead to unexpected treasures, which is why the legend of the 1989 Lincoln penny valued at $344 million continues to spark interest, motivate collectors, and excite viewers who love hearing about the possibilities that lie hidden within everyday items. And as you immerse yourself in these stories, last 1967 Lincoln penny. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing and captivating coin stories ever imagined, a tale that blends mystery, rarity, speculation, and the sheer excitement of uncovering a hidden treasure that might be sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket change right now. Because today's video explores the unbelievable idea of a 1967 Lincoln penny valued at an extraordinary and completely staggering $345 million due to a series of rumored errors, legendary mistakes, and fascinating minting possibilities that collectors have discussed for decades, all wrapped together into a story so compelling that it keeps coin enthusiasts, history lovers, and treasure hunters glued to every detail as they ponder how such an ordinary copper coin from a transitional era in American minting could ever be imagined to hold such astronomical value, especially when 1967 was a year filled with significant changes at the United States Mint, a time when proof sets were suspended, mint marks were temporarily removed, and production pressures were high, creating the perfect environment for unusual anomalies, obscure misstrikes, experimental compositions, and obscure die varieties to emerge, fueling myths, speculation, and the persistent belief that somewhere out there might exist a singular 1967 penny unlike any other, a coin with such profound, layered, and extraordinary errors that it could, in the wildest collector fantasies, command a valuation normally associated with priceless artifacts rather than a simple 1-cent coin that most people handle every day without a second thought. As we journey into this concept, imagine the way the coin's supposed errors would compound into a once-in-a-lifetime rarity, beginning with the idea that one of these mythical 1967 pennies might have been struck on an experimental planchet, perhaps a transition metal that was never approved for circulation. A composition test piece mistakenly fed into the presses during a period when the mint was adjusting materials and refining processes following the mint mark suppression policies of the mid-1960s, and imagine the implications of a Lincoln penny struck accidentally on a leftover silver dime planchet, a bronze test planchet of unusual purity, or even an early zinc-based test planchet prepared for later decades, each creating a dramatic difference in weight, coloration, and metal content that collectors would immediately recognize as world-class rarity. And from this foundation of composition error, we layer additional possibilities, such as an off-center strike so extreme that more than half the design is missing while still retaining sharp date clarity. A double die obverse with such crystal-clear doubling on Lincoln's profile or the date that it becomes visually striking even to an untrained eye, and a reverse die rotation error so pronounced that the reverse appears twisted a full 180 degrees, pushing the coin even deeper into the realm of legendary mint anomalies. Add to that the possibility of a brockage impression, where one coin sticks inside the press and stamps an inverted mirror image design onto another, creating a look so unusual that seasoned numismatists would immediately classify it as one of the most dramatic minting accidents possible. And suddenly this single 1967 penny becomes a layered compilation of minting impossibilities, each one rare on its own yet, in this extraordinary scenario, combined into a single coin that defies probability, and appears more like a museum piece produced by a cosmic accident than a United States mint product. And this is precisely the kind of narrative that captivates audiences who dream of finding a generational treasure in the most unexpected places. Now imagine the story growing even more intense as collectors speculate about the coin's surface features, noting potential die cracks sprawling across Lincoln's portrait like lightning bolts etched in copper, tiny raised metal lines that signal a fatigued die nearing the end of its usable life, or perhaps a severe die clash where the obverse and reverse dies smash together without a planchet between them, transferring impressions of one design onto the other and creating ghostly outlines of the Lincoln Memorial drifting across the obverse field, misaligned and eerie yet mesmerizing to those who understand how rarely such dramatic clashing occurs, especially on coins from years when minting procedures were supposed to be tightly controlled despite the chaotic circumstances of the late 1960s. Envision, too, the phenomenon of a tilted die strike, where the dies press unevenly against the planchet, causing unusual thickness variations in the coin's rim, sometimes producing a partial color error where the edge looks distorted, flattened, or expanded in ways that catch the light and signal instantly to collectors that something extraordinary happened during production. And when all these possibilities are merged into one coin, the wrong planchet, a massive off-center strike, extreme die, doubling, brockage impressions, die cracks, die clashes, rotational misalignments, surface distortions, and experimental metallic undertones. The storyline reaches a level so extreme that the hypothetical $345 million valuation becomes part of the mythos, a symbolic badge of the coin's imagined uniqueness rather than a literal market value. Yet the very thought of such a coin triggers the imaginations of viewers who love the idea that a fortune can lurk in ordinary change. Furthermore, consider how the coin's supposed provenance might develop in the minds of those who adore rare coin storytelling, perhaps involving tales of a forgotten mint employee who held onto a mysterious error coin for decades, or legends of a small-town flea market where an unsuspecting collector purchased a jar of old pennies without realizing one of history's greatest mint anomalies sat inside, or stories of the 1967 penny entering circulation unnoticed before landing in a forgotten collection for half a century until resurfacing in a dusty box inherited from a relative who never realized what they possessed, and each version of the tale heightens the intrigue surrounding this fictional megavalue coin, giving it an almost mythological aura that draws people in. Another dimension of the story involves the 1967 mint environment itself, because that was a year when mint marks were removed nationwide to discourage coin roll hunting and hoarding, a controversial move that resulted in rising production numbers and intense pressure on the mint workforce, which in turn fueled higher chances of errors slipping through undetected. And this era of hurried production has long been fertile ground for theories that unusual experimental pieces or dramatic mistakes might have been accidentally released, raising the question of whether some coins from that year could carry concealed anomalies so spectacular that they feel like artifacts from an alternate timeline. The imagined $345 million penny becomes a kind of symbol for the excitement of possibility, the rare coin dream that keeps collectors searching through pocket change, estate sales, bulk rolls, treasure hunting forums, and flea market bins with endless hope that the next great discovery awaits just beneath the surface. And this hope is amplified by real historical precedents like the 1943 bronze cent, the 1955 double die cent, the 1974 aluminum cent, and the 1969 S double die cent, all of which prove that extraordinary minting errors do happen and can transform humble pennies into legendary pieces worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or more. So when enthusiasts imagine a 1967 penny possessing an improbable cluster of errors so extreme that its theoretical value is placed in the hundreds of millions, they are tapping into the thrill and wonder of coin collecting itself, a hobby built upon curiosity, patience, attention to detail, and the enduring belief that the most remarkable treasures often come in the smallest packages. This imagined scenario also inspires collectors to revisit the more realistic known varieties from 1967, examining them under magnification, searching for subtle doubling, light die cracks, surface anomalies, or slight off-center strikes that might not command mythical prices but still carry significant interest and value. And in doing so, the legend of the $345 million penny functions not as factual history but as motivational storytelling, encouraging deeper engagement with numismatics and reminding viewers that the joy of the hobby lies not only in the coins themselves, but in the stories, mysteries, and possibilities that surround them. As we wrap this extended exploration, the fictional idea of a 1967 Lincoln penny worth hundreds of millions stands as a symbol of all the excitement, wonder, and treasure-hunting energy that keeps this hobby alive, reminding every viewer that sometimes the best stories are those that let our imaginations roam freely while deepening our appreciation for real numismatic treasures waiting to be discovered in the world around us.